Hey, so welcome to the next episode of The Heroes You Deserve. I'm Henry.
I'm Mike.
I'm Dick.
And Fidel.
Fidel's back.
We brought Fidel back.
Get used to that face.
Just for continuity's sake, we made sure we all wore the same clothes.
Yes.
Yeah. I assure you it's probably clean.
Right.
I had to dig out this guy from the back of the car.
We are into our cups.
Right.
And
By car, he means ass.
Yes, exactly. And so we are going to be discussing, I think we're all in agreement, the awesome episode trailer of Logan.
Oh,
Yeah.
So we just watched it right now. It's fresh in our mind. And I think we all like it. Let's start off with Fidel this time around.
Yeah.
So so how familiar are you with the Logan story? The Old Man Logan story.
All right, Old Man Logan, nothing.
Okay.
No, I know him as I'm Wolverine forever till the day I die. Don't need anyone. I am the Wolverine.
Sure.
So to see him older with age and vulnerable or with life is a little different. Obviously, also I didn't know that Fox was now taking liberties with the story. So it also, even just seeing Xavier alive, it seemed a little weird to me. But again, if I can go back and just suspend reality and go in for the entertainment value, the trailer was tremendous, along with the addition of the Johnny Cash. Sure. And, and now he's got a daughter, which I don't know who he made with.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
And if she's going to be like him, then...
Oh, she's more like him than you think.
Yeah, I'm sure, it's going to have that character. But overall, I really enjoyed it. And if you're going to, loosen up the story, I guess I'm down. I'm down with that. You always want to stay original and creative and come up with new things and new angles. And all right, go with it. I'm going to watch it.
And because even any comic book story may be too complex for the mainstream movie audience.
Yeah, man.
So here's my
They're just not long enough.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I don't know if Old Man Logan either. I'm bare bones familiar with it. But do we want to tell the story so that way?
Absolutely.
Or are you familiar with that storyline?
I am.
All right.
See, because now I don't know. Like, do we want to know or do we want to go to the movie fresh?
No, I want to know. That way I can know where to read and catch up and try to piece together so I can watch this movie. And not critique it and break it apart, but see,
compare.
Yeah.
Compared to the source material?
All right, Mike. So
who's got a better job of explaining it?
So Old Man Logan is a one-shot series written by Mark Millar, who's famously
great writer.
Has done Kick-Ass. He did Wanted. He worked on Civil War. So he's got some chops on writing Marvel material. So he took this iteration of Wolverine and kind of turned it on its ear. So he took us way into the future, well after this dystopian version of the Marvel universe exists. So
big time.
We look at Wolverine as a character who is a survivor, who has
outlasted everybody,
and very much like Wanted has survived the villains finally overcoming their differences and totally owning all of the superheroes that exist. So we have this post-apocalyptic wasteland in which Wolverine exists, where he has foregone all of his superhero tendencies. He's just done trying to help the world. He's just living.
And his healing powers are
they're waning.
Right.
They're not what
so
they
every
were.
time he pops his claws, it actually causes him pain, and it takes a while for it to heal.
Yeah, he's in the worst shape possible. He's
Right.
an old man.
Yeah, right.
I mean, he's in the existing world already well into his 80s. Like the Wolverine we know is well into his 80s.
If not older, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And we're talking
well, more so because his healing factor. He's a lot older. I mean, he's been around. He's been around for World War One.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
retconned him a lot of times.
Sure.
But he is
Like
very
pre-Captain America.
That's
Yeah.
the single thing that carries out throughout his story is that he's been around for ages.
Which made it seem weird watching him old.
Right.
Yeah, so now seeing him actually having age where that healing factor just
Without Xavier aging.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that was weird.
That's
With hair,
a little
with
odd.
hair.
Yeah, and he had hair. Too.
In the comic, it's not Xavier. His attachment to the actual Marvel Universe is Hawkeye.
Blind Hawkeye.
A blind Hawkeye whose daughter has gone way astray. You've got an evil version of the Hulk that's sort of dominating this post-apocalyptic wasteland.
There's a bunch of Hulks around because
irradiated.
Hulk and She-Hulk, even though they're cousins, they are actually the only people they're able to mate with. So they actually had sex, and so they're
Hulk gene.
You've got series like Inbred, like
Inbred Hulks.
The Hills Have Eyes Hulks,
right.
running around causing
Super Mutants,
trouble.
Fallout.
Wow.
Yeah, it's seriously screwed. The
Wow,
Wolverine
that's
hangs up
interesting
his
writing.
claws because he was tricked by Mysterio into.
He has to go.
I'm reluctant to say any more because I
'cause
really
know
would
he did-
encourage
I know
our viewers
he did something.
to watch what happens because it's so gut wrenching. It's one of the best comic book stories I've read. I know a lot of people have a lot of problems with this. The story that it's unbelievable that Wolverine would fall for what
It's like
happened.
a what if story, sort of.
Yeah,
kind of,
it's a
sort of.
one shot, but
No,
the fact that it exists,
it's part of canon
but
now.
it
and
is now,
yeah, it's become canon, but it's not like hard canon because it's set so far in the future. But I would encourage all of you to pick that book up. Mark Millar is a brilliant writer.
And McNevin
Yeah,
wrote it too.
dude, man.
The art is great.
I was a big
Oh my
fan when
God.
he wrote The Judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is good stuff. Pick it up. Get the digital version. There's going to be a trade paperback. Almost certainly. That's a good value.
Now, is
So-
X-23 part of Old Man Logan?
Not at all. Not at all.
Negative.
So that's why Hawkeye can't be a part of this. Hawks can't be a part of this. That's why Xavier and X-23 are a part of this.
So they've sort of gone
because
apart
it's
from the
Fox.
story, but it seems like they're sticking with the overall.
And the Reavers are not a part of the story.
No, not at all.
But they are a part of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're going to have more than one Logan.
Well, okay, so X-23. So we talk about X-23.
Go ahead.
do it.
Her actual identity is what her name is Kelly. What's her name? Something Kelly. or-
Martin. Some.
Well, essentially, she is a clone, a exact biological clone of Logan, but as a female. And I don't remember who did it, but that's who she is in the comics.
Monsanto.
I don't know who did it, but that's who did it. But that's who she is in the comics. We're all assuming that that's who she is in the movies. Now it looks like they've cast an unknown, but if we do see Wolverine in a future X-Men movie, in the comics they've already given that title to her.
Because Wolverine's dead.
Yeah, so there's already a new Wolverine in the comics right now, and it's her. So this is an introduction to her. Now I don't know if we see a different movie down the road, because it doesn't jive with the whole time
X-Men
travel,
continuity.
right? With the time travel of it
Sure.
being in the future, and she's in that story.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they're going to do that unless it's a different time, because it doesn't look very dystopian in the trailer.
It doesn't. Not too much. No.
Man,
I mean, it looks somewhat. I mean, it's like a desert.
It doesn't
kind of
look
thing.
Fallout at all.
Right.
No. So they're obviously playing around with the timeline of it, and maybe
Sure.
he's not in his 80s. He's just in his late 40s.
Well,
You know?
in Wolverine.
And
That
now-
time that'd be like 150. He'd
Thanks.
be in ages.
And yeah, well, it's true. And then I don't know if that event that he gets tricked into in the comics, if he does that in the movies, but he does make a comment in the trailer that all the X-Men are gone. So I don't know how much time has passed here, but if X-23 is the new Wolverine, foreseeably in the next movie, in the few next movies, if they make more X-Men movies, then that time thing needs to be addressed for sure.
Yeah, but even the two different versions of the X-Men trilogies, their timelines are all messed
No,
up.
you're
anyway.
right. You're right. The
Yeah,
age, the
big time,
McAvoy
man.
age. You're right. The timing of all of these things is weird. So
But even the comics, their timelines are all messed up anyway.
That's why. Yeah, X-Men is just craziness. But that's who she
Too many
is.
writers.
She is. She is a biological, exact female clone of Logan, except she has 2 claws instead of 3.
Right.
2 and 2 instead of 3 and 3.
Which, like, Daken had the 3 claws.
Correct.
Only one of them came out of his wrist. And
Right.
Daken was, I think, an actual
Biological
son.
son.
A biological son created the old-fashioned way.
Right. With sex.
And he is...
Thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah, yes. For anyone who is unclear.
The old-fashioned way
what
is
biological procreation is. It means put in the penis and the weenus.
Logan,
we did-
Logan
Peen
snicked
to
somebody.
peen to vagine is what he's talking about.
Snick.
You ruined
Okay, I'm gonna
me.
give him one for the snick because that was pretty cool.
You bastard. Okay, so yeah, Daken is another thing that
Not the band.
exists. Not the band, not Dawkin with an O. It's Dawkin with an A.
That's Warren.
That's
Okay,
Warren's.
well, shit, I'm going
Not Dawkin.
Dawkin.
You're thinking of To
Dawkins-
Hell with the
Dawkins
Devil.
definitely
That's
music.
Striper.
That's Striper, right?
It's
Wow.
the Dream
What
Warriors.
the fuck did...
The Dream Warriors was
Dawkins
Dawkins.
known for that horrible
Dream Warriors.
fire where all those people.
And speaking of songs, the song
Yeah.
is not by it's sung by Johnny Cash, but the original is by
Trent
Trent
Reznor.
Reznor
Okay,
with Nine Inch Nails.
This is a conversation I wanted to have with you folks.
Okay.
Can you remember a trailer with a better song?
No, not at all.
Gears
Like
of
in
War.
recent memory? Like
Gears of War.
Yes, with that
They did
cover
something
of
similar with-
Mad World.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
you're
think of
right.
a film trailer that immediately grabbed you just because of the song.
No.
The ooga chaga, ooga chaga.
You're right.
That to me,
Guardians
I think
is
that
distinctly-
trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy is what made Guardians of the Galaxy that much money, because that song is just a great song, and the way that the trailer was
It
structured
sets
around
the
that song.
tone.
I think
Yeah.
about that
Film.
song though, and I think about Reservoir Dogs. I don't think.
Well,
of
yes, because it
Guardians.
was in Reservoir Dogs.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, it was.
Like, I hate when they redo songs in other movies. I
but
think once
yeah.
it's been in a movie, that's it.
Like Steelers will
gone.
forever
Yes.
associate with Reservoir Dogs.
Well, there was
I
a
mean,
couple of Little
it's
Green Bag.
Little
There was
Green
like Little Green Bag. There was like
you
three
can't
really
use
good
it
songs.
again.
Yeah.
And people do. And it's like, oh, I'm hip, I'm cool, I'm the only one that knew of this track. I'm gonna bring it back to life. And then we're like,
Yes, I like where
fucker.
this guy's coming from.
It's like, why did they do that again? That was already in this movie.
Yeah, it was. That's true. I mean, once Quentin is a master at finding songs and making them
Dude.
fit his movies.
Yeah. If
but
it's even him.
it's
I mean,
really hard to
arguably, the
it's really
Suicide
hard to
Squad
argue.
trailer with "I Started a Joke" with this that was a fucking like.
The Suicide Squad trailer with the music too was
They had the two of them.
Bohemian
they had the
Rhapsody.
Starting a Joke, and they had the Bohemian Rhapsody,
Yeah.
and they had the.
the one with Heathens, the 21 Pilots song.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean,
But no,
this
like
look,
a good
and the-
trailer,
the
good
Ballroom
song,
Blitz as
hitting.
well.
yeah,
like,
the
that's tough.
Ballroom Blitz. Yeah, look, this one with Pain Hurt, right? Johnny
Yes,
Cash.
yes.
It just fits perfectly. I mean, you see the pain in his face. You see, I mean, it's the
Hurt.
tone of the movie, and this is James Mangold, the director. It's James
I think so.
Mangold. He did The Wolverine, but before that, he did 3:10 to Yuma, the remake with Christian Bale and Tom
Russell
Hardy or Russell Crowe. It was
Tom
Russell Crowe.
Hardy.
I mean, James Mangold is a legitimate film director. We were talking about Patty Jenkins earlier, who directed Wonder Woman. I mean, these are directors that have come from film. I mean, I wouldn't consider Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder's always been a genre director. 300 and Dawn of the Dead. I mean, he's always done kind of these genre type movies. But James Mangold, and it looks like he's trying to make this almost feel like a Western. And 3:10 to Yuma was
I got that
brilliant.
feel. The
3:10 to Yuma was brilliant.
It seems like it might have that very methodical
Yeah.
pacing to it,
Yeah.
like where you're really letting
It feels
the
like a
emotion
Western.
build.
Yeah.
Like everything's gonna be very slow, very quiet, and then when the action sequence hit, you'll already have been like braced for them because you felt them. Like you had this foreboding feeling, like okay, we're building to something really bad, and it's coming. Oh, is this the moment? No, it's okay. We're okay. I mean, you can't really write that. You have to direct it.
Do you think
you
that
can say a moment's going to happen? You can't really realize it until you're saying, okay, I need you to look really chill.
But do you think that this Marvel flick is going to follow the recipe that you were talking about earlier?
The one we alluded to during our Doctor Strange review, no.
Yeah, this is
no.
different.
This is a different
It feels
animal.
different,
This is
but
not a
it talked-
Marvel
it talked about
Studios
it.
Only
film.
because
Kevin
Logan
Feige
is
is not
established, but at the same time, are you only trying to make a movie for people that know, or are you trying to also at the same
No,
time
you're-
intrigue
it's
a whole
all-
new
it's
audience
always
as well?
all inclusive. That's both the
When does it
advantage
become for
and
us?
disadvantage to
Oh, no.
doing superhero films. That yes, you want the core audience to enjoy it, but you also want every other person in existence
You wanna
to
make money.
enjoy it.
What happens when you
Plus-
write for not them?
Well, I think Old Man Logan is
You
one
make
of
the
the best
Empress.
Wolverine movie, one of the best Wolverine stories, and Hugh Jackman wants to go out on top.
Yeah,
And I think that story's the best choice.
that's one of the better choices.
Yeah.
I think that he wouldn't carelessly.
So then
And I
he's
say
done
that
with.
having seen
This
done.
is his last one.
This is
So
his last
so like Wolverine dies.
or we get a different
Well,
iteration
he's still
of him.
he is still right now, as of this moment, Old Man Logan in the comic books, because they can't justify killing off that character. They did kill him, and then he came back to life. I mean, there's just Marvel can't do that. And no, DC wouldn't do it either. I mean, you can't get rid of Wolverine. Wolverine is Wolverine.
No,
they made Wolverine
like 90 years old now.
Yeah, they made Wolverine into a girl, and now they call her Wolverine, and they call him Old Man Logan. So they still technically both exist in the comics.
Well, just like during Siege when they made the Avengers and turned Daken into Wolverine. I mean, he wasn't Wolverine, but he was Wolverine.
But I don't know, as far as the movies are concerned, how they're going to handle that. They could kill him. You know what? And I wouldn't have a problem with that.
What happens when our children are 20 and 30? Like, so Wolverine, the character, is now just going to continue to be evolved into this young lady?
In the foreseeable future, it could be her. Because
Right?
she's technically still
Wolverine
Logan.
will no longer be as we know it.
Unless
we
they-
will pray that our children are nerdy enough to care about the origins of the character.
If we were, they will be.
Unless they retcon it, then yes. If she's a success, that's all that meant right there.
Maybe
If
they'll
she sells-
be on a
if she
similar
sells
panel
comic
like
books,
we
then they're
are
gonna keep
now.
her. Right?
Yeah,
Discussing
they need it.
back in the day, Wolverine used to be a Canadian.
Yeah. And now, yeah.
Yeah.
He was a really, really old Canadian guy. I
Yeah,
know,
sure.
and he was
And
white.
he would smoke cigars and he would say bub
smoke
all the
cigars, really, really un-PC. But that was the time. I mean, it was okay.
Yeah.
He wore that hair on purpose so he could fight you.
That's right.
If you had shit
It
to
made
say.
him more aerodynamic when he fights, brother.
Yeah.
My armpits makes him more aerodynamic.
It's really neat to grasp the entire universe on the Marvel comics and see, like, okay, well, if you want to follow this storyline, where is Fox going to go with it? Because now if they're arguably passing the torch, and let's just say that this female Wolverine can, hold it up, and without no X-Men support, where does the Marvel universe go from there?
Unfortunately,
because
what I
now,
think we'll see,
if she's alive, there's no Iron Man, there's no Hulk, there's no Spider-Man, there's no,
Well, there are no X-Men according to the movies.
Yeah,
so.
what I think we're gonna see, unfortunately, is we'll see the studio take the obvious route
and we just recast
and
Wolverine.
reboot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
restart from
Start
there.
No Ultimate,
all
I don't
over
want that.
again.
People are talking
No.
about that Tom Hardy could be the next Wolverine. I know I've already heard several
I'm
people
kind of
say
into that. Not for
I
nothing.
wish they would have held on to Tobey Maguire a little
Well,
longer.
because Robert Downey Jr.
I do.
is getting too expensive and too old, and they're eventually going to reboot Iron Man.
So are we gonna see
Well,
10
years from
Williams?
now.
We're gonna see Riri.
Well,
what's
all
her
right,
name?
well, they got to at least
Williams,
close
yeah.
it before they reboot it. And then
don't know.
reboot it 20 years later. All the 80s flicks that are getting remade.
Yeah, but we've seen
Roadhouse
Spider-Man
and Red
rebooted
Dawn and all that.
twice.
No, I know, and that was total bullshit. But, just give it a little bit more
I
time.
liked Andrew Garfield.
Give it a little bit more time.
Mm-hmm. Andrew Garfield
No,
really
but
did.
that's
nail
not,
it.
that's not how Hollywood thinks. Hollywood just wants to make money
You-
off of franchising, off of toys.
And when you're younger, you don't realize that movies like Ocean's 11 and Gone in 60 Seconds have already been remade.
Right,
You think
you
that you're
don't, right.
watching it for the
You're-
first time.
totally.
But they're coming up too fast. For there to be a new Spider-Man in like 15 years is wrong.
But this is the first MCU Spider-Man.
We
'Cause,
talked about
see,
that during our.
that's what's going on here.
At least pay respect to each other and not ignore one another just because your studio didn't do it.
That's
That's
asking a lot.
Try to keep us in mind.
Yeah, that's not a thing
No.
that'll happen.
Hollywood, that's not
Yeah,
how
we
Hollywood
talked
thinks.
about that mentality of the newer generation during our Ghostbusters trailer review.
Yeah.
When we discussed for a lot of people, this will be their first
See
exposure.
the link below, above.
Yeah, check it out here. It'll be right there. It'll be their first exposure to Ghostbusters, and for
no.
later down the line, perhaps that'll be their first exposure to Wolverine, seeing this X-23 being the Wolverine.
First exposure to
they
Rogue
won't-
One, Star
Yeah,
Wars.
they won't have any knowledge. Like we talked about, actually, I believe it was during our Rogue One trailer review that we talked about how the Phantom Menace, the prequel trilogy, was
Horrible.
agreed, but also the first exposure to the
Star
millennial
Wars.
generation to
The
the
Star
Star
Wars.
Wars universe.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't quite give a shit as much as we did about
Right.
that. They're completely okay with all three of those movies because that was their first exposure to the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
And now that they have the new films, they're like, okay, well, we're just continuing the story. I get it. our 1977 version of it, they give no fucks.
But no, man, you'll find it's a cultural difference. We don't all fall to peer pressure, and we all want to, when we were younger, we wanted to stick to vinyls. And we wanted to, there wasn't a place like Hot Topic where we could buy an Iron Maiden T-shirt.
Right. No, you had to go to a concert.
Now all these fucking kids are wearing it, and they don't even know a song. And,
you're right.
And so I want to. There's a part of us.
Like, what's that lady singing about?
We're finally, our generation's finally going to be in charge, and they're going to be like, no, Wolverine's not a chick. It's like Metallica is speed metal, not power ballads. Like we'll start to recreate what we wanted to hold on to. If everybody's always talking about the 80s being the last original decade, and we're from it, it just means that there's a lot more of us like it thinking, and they're constantly trying to recreate.
But it's true, because a lot of the things that are being remade right now are from the 80s or before.
And it's horrible, dude.
I think, to be generous, about 70% of the stuff that's been
hold bite your tongue.
No, I don't want that. I'm not hoping for it.
The
I
Goonies?
said, what's next? Goonies? Like
there's a lot of things.
They're taking everything and for Hollywood not to be like, okay, bitch,
because you couldn't make a fat kid do the truffle shuffle right now without getting everybody mad at you.
That's true. They are rebooting Predator as well, aren't they?
I thought it was a sequel.
Is it a
They're
sequel?
doing a sequel.
Okay. I know Shane Black is involved, so I'm cool with it.
Shane Black is doing Predators.
Well, I loved Predators. I thought that was good.
I thought that was good.
But
the one with what's it, Adrian Brody?
Yeah.
Not bad at all.
Topher Grace and all those little bounty hunters of killers.
Alice Braga.
Who's that? The sniper?
No, the girl.
Oh, and Walton Goggins, man. Walton Goggins is the man.
You didn't even fucking know.
I wasn't paying attention.
You didn't watch the movie?
I wasn't paying attention to what she did.
She was a sniper in the movie.
Okay,
she was the only chick amongst dicks. So
I was just.
No, so anyway,
I just focused on that.
You get to a point where the people in charge are finally our generation, and if they're from the 80s, they're gonna want to keep it original.
Like that? Yeah.
They're gonna want to keep it original. They're gonna want to pull it back. They're gonna want to slow it down. Arguably, you can't make everyone happy, even if you all had the time and the unlimited resources to make your movie as the heroes you deserve and keep in everything that you felt was going to be, effectual. People would tear you all up.
Right, and because we would probably not be as diverse as people wanted, not include enough people of color as people wanted.
Why is the movie so long? Yeah.
Why it's so long? Why there's so many white people in it?
Yeah.
Right, because again, I think
because that's how Marvel created.
Most Hollywood executives grew up in the 80s, and I'm sure
just
they're
fair-skinned people.
Why not just reboot RoboCop?
I don't like the reboot.
I know, but that's not how.
That's what upset me about the Ultimate universe.
Spider-Man. Yeah,
I didn't like that they just started. Well, let's just start it all over. It's like, no, bro.
I think they were aiming for rebooting in a more realistic world. I think.
And I thought
I always think it stems from somebody thinking they can do it better.
And I wouldn't have minded if it was all original, but all you were doing was retelling the same stories again. Like, oh, wait a minute.
With a twist.
Yeah, it's like, here's another, you're doing, I wouldn't have minded
the old story in the future.
Yeah, but it was the same characters.
Yeah. Oh, I think Venom should do this.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, look, here's the Vulture, and here's the Green Goblin, and here's the Rhino and the Shocker.
Yeah, Mary Jane puts out.
Yeah, everybody was the same. Like, just again, I'm like, well, why do I need this?
In the real world, right?
Well, whatever.
Right.
Well, if that's what,
I don't
the
need
movies are starting to come. If you redid, is the new Spider-Man darker than the 10-year-old one?
No.
No, it was just like.
But that's not Spider-Man.
They purposely casted a younger kid so that way he's going to be in the high school years.
Yeah,
which is the same thing they did with James Garfield.
And I hated it when they tried to pull it off with Batman. I loved Keaton. I didn't care for Clooney or Kilmer. Part 2 is my favorite.
Jesus.
With Catwoman and Penguin. Like, holy cow, that was just tremendous. I didn't like how it's like, oh, let's recast. Like, come on.
But that's the nature of it.
That was a panic move.
Well, plus I think is maybe the combination of the act. Michael Keaton didn't want to do it, or it was too much money, or something.
Well, that might not necessarily. There was no reason for Michael Keaton to continue without Tim Burton behind it. behind the camera. I mean,
So
like why would he care?
So
Like,
Hollywood wanted to extend it beyond
he's
Michael
like-
Keaton.
and
right?
he's like, you know what? Fuck that, because I don't have to. I don't
Yeah.
need to do this. If you want to keep making it, find someone else. I mean, it was that famous line that Bruce Willis had when they were shooting that Live Free or Die
Armageddon.
Hard, when he's like
Oh.
trying to get Kevin Smith's like character,
Warlock.
the Warlock rewritten, and he's like, okay, you don't like any of the stuff he's writing? Okay, who's your second choice to play John McClane?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, they had no choice. But with Batman, he's a dude in a mask. You can totally get away with that. They have no leverage. So you end up saying, like, okay, well, this actor doesn't want to do it. Oh, guess what? We'll fucking put someone else in there.
Man,
I bet they thought they were being really funny when they, like, cast Christian Bale in there and thought they're like, oh, this won't go over. Guess what? It fucking hit. It hit so good.
Or Ben
And we
Affleck.
got three more.
But let's go back. Let's go back to
Ben
why
Affleck,
it worked.
I forgot about that.
Let's go back to why the Dark Knight trilogy worked, and nobody gives any credit to the man that made them, and that was Christopher Nolan, another guy who had already set up a pretty legitimate movie career before the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah, because he made them. He made them so that they weren't Batman movies.
He was making films. I mean,
Yeah.
He's also the one that did Inception, by the way, and he did
Okay.
Memento, and he did The Prestige. And, you know, this guy is a legitimate filmmaker who just happened to make a film about comic book characters. And but he grounded him in
And
reality.
that's how it felt. It
Right.
felt like he was making a film that happened to have comic book
Right.
characters in them, not a comic book film that was trying to be a crime drama.
The Batman is a detective crime, you know. Not so much.
And and when Batman Begins starts off, you think like, oh, here we go again, same old shit. But no, like, we get like this film where like a guy is actually progressing through learning how to be a crime fighter.
right.
Like, we see him.
Unlike Doctor Strange.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Where we see him fail.
Would you like to regrade
for
the movie
most
now?
of the movie? Come home, fail at being a vigilante, and
Yeah.
eventually hit his stride and like, okay, cool. Guess what? If I really, really try super, super hard, I cannot be the dick that I used to be, and learn to be the better version of me, and the roll credits, because that's what we saw.
And I think,
and so on and
yeah.
so forth, because we saw in the second one a crime drama, and the third one it was more
Superhero.
of a.
Spider-Man 3.
It was a little too much.
Yeah, but I mean, now I think with Mangold, who is also an established director, doing the same thing, and he did do the Wolverine. He did not do Origins, but he did do the Wolverine. That was the one in Japan with the Silver Samurai, and that was a pretty decent movie.
Really
I
was,
didn't
actually.
love it. I didn't hate it.
And
It wasn't
a superhero movie.
No, it was just him. But that was very typical of his comic books.
Sure, absolutely.
Wolverine, with his solo stuff, is very kind of Shogun,
Japan, sure.
samurai kind of
Yes.
oriented.
Ninjas.
You know, he's kind of like a modern, mutant samurai. He's without, and it totally connects with him. And so I thought that movie was pretty good. And this is his second crack. He's been with the character already for 2 movies now.
It's funny
and
because
you can see that there's a connection there between the direction. This trailer looked really good.
Yeah.
you mentioned that because like the earlier writing was definitely very much Logan the Samurai,
Yeah.
and then once Millar touched him, it became Wolverine the grizzled old West character,
Right.
which seems to be the prevailing character now.
Which is samurai. Look at all the really great westerns. They were all remake of samurai movies.
Oh, you're not wrong.
The Magnificent
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Seven, the Cowboys.
But
So
very,
Jimbo.
very-
The fist. All of those.
Now it's
they're
very
similar.
relatable.
There's very similar. They're very similar themes
yeah,
and tropes.
it's not so much an Eastern film where you feel like, okay, it's a samurai movie and we don't think like, because there's a disconnect when that happens, because
Yeah.
you think like, okay, I'm watching essentially a foreign film.
But it's like what Quentin did with Kill Bill.
Correct.
Part 1 was the Asian movie, and Part 2 was the Western. But they're both the same. I mean, and that's the beautiful thing about film is that you always have to come back to where it started. Akira Kurosawa, probably the greatest filmmaker ever in the history of film, has been copied so many times.
Oh yeah.
And so many great movies were copies of his great movies. And that was one of his obvious
cite your
influences.
work. Let the audience know what you're talking about.
Oh, Akira Kurosawa. The Magnificent Seven, which was one of the great westerns of our time, was a direct copy of The Seven Samurai, which was an Akira Kurosawa movie. But we also had the entire, I want to say it was The Fistful of Dollars, The Man with No Name,
The Man with No
The
Name
Good, the Bad,
series,
and the Ugly.
correct.
Those are the 3 in that trilogy. those directly that plot was directly lifted from Yojimbo, which was another Akira Kurosawa movie.
And that was kind of kicked off the spaghetti western era,
Yeah,
too.
the spaghetti westerns were very a lot of
the Italian answer to the
reused.
Eastern.
Yeah, there were a lot of reused samurai stories, but they were just depicted as westerns. And it created. I mean, everyone knows the spaghetti westerns, but nobody seems to remember the samurai movies that they were based on.
Yeah.
And I think Quentin kind of did a little bit of both, where he honored the samurai movie and the spaghetti western together in the same overall movie. They were divided in two, but I'd love to see. I know. There's rumors of the whole bloody affair, that one movie that where it's all combined. But we got two different movies, and people loved the Asian version. Maybe didn't like the spaghetti western version, but they're essentially the same. It's the same genre, just reinvented again, which is what the spaghetti westerns were to the Asian samurai movies. And I see this also melting with the this Logan movie, because the last movie we had, The Wolverine, was a very, I guess, atypical kind of samurai movie, and now it's appearing more to be like a western. So it's interesting that I mean, I don't know if it's going to come across that way, it's going to feel that way.
It's like the lone wolf and cub kind of, because I mean he's basically
Right.
taking care of the cub, the girl.
Yep. And I mean, I don't know if it's a coincidence that they're using a Johnny Cash song that's attributed, country western singer. I mean, that may not be a coincidence. So
it might have just been a cool thing.
that too.
That song is awesome. Not for nothing.
It is a cool song.
All right, Fidel, any final thoughts about this, about Logan? What are you looking forward to for Logan?
I'm gonna watch it, but I think that for Marvel fans, that this is going to be like an abrupt end of the character, and there might be twisted feelings about how that's going to come to be. If we're ready to now embrace a new character or a new generation of what the Wolverine was and what it represents in Marvel and for us as fanboys growing up, is this young little Hellraiser, gonna rise to the occasion? Because now again we have no supporting cast, so there can't be a second part to this unless it's just the evolution of this young lady. But so I'm curious. I'd like to watch it. I'd like to see the literature and the way to see that it would develop, which would have obviously more depth. But definitely just do the trailer, which I always tend to avoid. I'm definitely intrigued. We'll watch this movie and we'll only hope for the best from the Marvel universe, because when you take what you know as a fan and you allow other people to run with the reins, you hope for the best. You want them to create what you saw, and that's not. And respect always seems to be the first thing. The integrity of the story always seems the first thing. Just like they'll never notice.
You mean like in Doctor Strange?
But we're the ones that are making the videos on YouTube. We're the ones complaining. We're the ones, and you know what? The complaints aren't even far-stretched. They're not even like, oh, you didn't follow. Where's the background of his history? Like, it's not even that. They change huge things that they think that would not be noticed by the above-average fanboy, and so this being controlled by Fox and completely separate from the Marvel Studios, it's kind of intriguing because they're going to create
Their own universe.
Yeah, they're going to create something that's going to cater to more people than just the comic fan. So it could either rise above our expectations, and now we see this whole new Chuck Norris-esque style of hero, or they can keep them modest with their struggle that
And
we seem
rated
to
R,
like.
by the way.
Yeah, and I hope it's not just rated R due to a couple of fucks, which seems to be
it's going to be violent.
which seems to be Hollywood's rule of thumb.
Yeah.
If this is
I think
coming
you're
out,
Ooh, we said a bunch of naughty things.
I think 2 fucks is what you get it.
If this is
Right.
coming out because it's just going to be ferocious, then this will be the Wolverine movie we've
I
been
think we're
waiting
going
for.
to see a full representation of the Berserker mode.
Yeah, I think we are too. I think it's going to be really
we've
violent.
been waiting too long because X-Men did not do a good job of showing how chaotic this creature, this character can be. He could have completely.
It was all implied, never shown.
Yeah, he could have cleared out Xavier's house.
We got a brief glimpse in Apocalypse when he was running around.
Yeah, very small. But when you read the comics and you see that, oh well, this guy will never be stopped.
Right.
And then cinema, it doesn't transfer. I think we're going to be able to see this, and they'll explain it through his rage.
Yes, exactly.
So, I hope for good things.
Yeah, Rich.
Me too. I think I like that. At least we have another studio involved here, and that we're not getting cookie cutter movies.
And you don't get bottlenecked into the same type, yeah.
And now, like we don't know what we're gonna get.
Yeah.
You know, we saw the trailer. We have general ideas because we know the story that they're borrowing from, but we know also that the way the story is being written in the comics and the way the continuities are blended, it can't happen the same way in the movies. So it'll be interesting to see how they resolve that. Like you said, could we keep going with a female Wolverine, or are they going to just stop and just reboot it and just start all over again from scratch? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if we see another X-Men movie, even after they said all the mutants were gone. And with her as part of the team, but I don't know how they're going to resolve that. So it'll be really interesting. I want to see it. I did like the Wolverine. I didn't love it, but I did like it, and this one looks like it's going to be better. So I'm interested in this one.
That it does.
Mike?
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this. What seems to be a genre-bending film, much like we're seeing with Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
We're getting in that case a period film that happens to have superheroes. It looks like we're getting, as we discussed, a Western film that happens to have superheroes in it. Very dark, very bleak, very much like Unforgiven. There's a lot that I think the casual viewer will enjoy if they're even not a huge Wolverine fan.
Oh yeah.
So we can seriously reel in some of the older demographic with this movie. They're used to seeing the gorier peck and paw style Western movie, where just there's egregious violence for violence sake, wrapped around a rough and tumble story. The new iteration of Wolverine hopefully will land. Let's be honest. We've grown to love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and anyone else as him.
He's been in the most superhero movies ever.
It's hard to see somebody else playing
had the
Wolverine.
most longevity as a character than anybody.
Yeah.
To his credit, he's carried it with,
and he's cared about it.
Yeah,
it does mean something to him.
Like Ryan Reynolds in Deadpool, I think.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds is another one.
It's a passion project for him.
Yeah.
Just staying in shape for the role, man. That's a life dedication.
Yeah.
The dude probably hasn't had a proper beer or pizza in ages.
Yeah.
Because he has to look
I'm
shredded.
the Wolverine.
Yeah.
Yeah, damn, man.
That's a rough. I can't think of an afternoon I want to go through with that. Never mind a couple years. So, the trailer looks amazing. The song is awesome. It evokes such emotion. It looks like we know what we're getting into so far, but I have a feeling we're going to be surprised when the end result's in front of us. We look forward to reviewing it, obviously. Hopefully we'll have all four of us here present to make that happen for you.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, and that's really all I have to say on it. I'm excited. The trailer did its job.
How many months away are we?
Too fucking many.
When is this coming out?
What is it?
Christmas.
March?
Yeah.
They said March?
Next year.
March.
As for me, I thought the trailer was amazing.
Oh, we
the
didn't
song
ask.
was
So
amazing.
thanks for
Amazing.
joining us
Yeah,
again.
amazing. It was amazing. That was Richard's word, though.
Amazing.
But I watched that trailer 5 or 6 times
Yeah, we
just
talked
because
about it, man.
because the song really fit the mood and just the whole. I think, and something we never touched on, I think the beginning of the film, the beginning of the trailer, is the same scene at the end, and I think my theory is that they were burying Professor X.
That seems to be what it is.
And the Reavers, Professor X, and X-23 are in this movie. They're not in the movie, but the comic book. But the comic book, I think, is one of the best Wolverine stories out there. You really need to get the trade paperback. The story and the art is amazing. I'm amazing. I'm really looking forward to this movie.
Comixology will hook you up.
Yes.
People, go on their site, download that shit.
So again, thank you very much. I'm Henry.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Dick.
And Fidel.
Yes, for another special episode of Heroes You Deserve with Logan trailer review.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. See you next time.
Everybody,
Bye, guys.